Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestle Horror. Greetings, viewers and listeners. Meat Hook Jim here, along with my co-host, Donnie Hoover. Donnie, how's it going?
Oh, doing good. Loving this weather out here.
The weather's awesome, but you know what? You can tell it's awesome just by watching the video here of WarHoss. I'm talking about Pat the Bruiser, Crosshairs Kelly. Welcome to the Wrestle Horror Podcast. How are you guys?
We're doing good.
Doing pretty good. Just finished trading today and wanted to step on the podcast and have some fun with you guys. Yep.
Right on. So how does it feel to get back into training again? It's got to feel good.
Oh, yeah. Missing it. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been able to actually get in a ring. So just being able to get in the ring and roll around and actually train has just been a heck of a time.
Is this your first session back, or have you guys been back a couple times?
Our first official session back.
Yeah.
So it's good to roll around and get the bumps in and start getting loose and getting ready.
Yeah, we're all kind of waiting on June the 9th.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed something happens.
Yeah, I heard that.
We're all hoping for that, man. June 9th. Let's positive vibes for that day for sure.
Absolutely.
So you guys have been a tag team for how many years now? I mean, I've met you guys a couple of years ago, but how long have you go back for tag team?
About 2.5 years, 2.5, working on 3.
Okay.
It just kind of lined up, right? Initially, we trained together at Ohio Pro Wrestling Academy under James Avery with Tommy Chill and Cyrus Poe. Initially, he was tagging with the Baker.
Right.
I was tagging with Asylum at a while. Eventually, I was doing a bunch of single stuff while he was still tagging. I think Baker took a sabbatical.
Yeah.
And
I hope you know every time you say Baker, our ratings go up like 3 points.
Exactly.
I'm going to go on like 15 tangents because that dude is so over. I don't think he realizes how over he is because every show we go to, like, we're the ones that are booked and everybody goes, hey, so is Baker with you? And we're like, man, just be happy to see us.
Right?
No, like, he is the Baker. That is legit. Yeah. So it works so well, and like he can literally work anybody from somebody brand new to somebody like the likes of Fulton, and just be able to put on a show. Like he worked Chris LaRusso, and it was probably the most over thing, and it should have probably been either the opening or the main. It was that good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, props to Baker. I'll give him that. But no, so Baker took a sabbatical, and I was begging OCW at the time to give us an opportunity to kind of work together and to tag. Because we had only tagged one time just out of a random situation where I needed somebody. And he stepped in. It was fun, and we kind of gelled. And he was the one that was always on the road, just like I was. So we were like, maybe we should give this a try and see how it works. And I tore my ACL. So I was gone for a little bit, which gave him the opportunity to just get better. And I'm glad that worked out that way because when I came back, I had somebody to kind of help me to get back to where I needed to be. So, yeah, we finally start officially tagging at OCW, and they gave us the opportunity and the shot, and it worked. And we just put in the work, and we continue to put in the work, obviously. So, yeah, good time.
Yeah, you just talked about where you guys just got out of class. If I remember right, when I started New Ohio Wrestling back in 2015, I made a visit out to James Avery School, and you guys were just there and just like getting started, I believe, or had a few months under your belts. And
we were pretty new.
Pretty new. So we've officially been wrestling about 6 years now, I think, officially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you guys definitely come a long way. And how is Avery's camp? Like I said, I use a lot of his guys. I put the school over any chance I get, and there's a lot of good talent coming out of there. But I mean, they're ball busters, I know, and that's good in my opinion.
Oh, they get you ready.
Oh, they get you mentally and physically ready. Like we say, like I don't know a better way to. It's a lot of tough love. Like if they
Good way to put it.
didn't care, like if they didn't give you shit, like they wouldn't, then you wouldn't be as good as they want you to be. You know, they want your decent to be good. They want your good to be excellent. That's what they want. They want
Better than them.
us to be better than them, and that's why they drive us so hard.
It definitely works, whatever they're doing. Because, like I said, they're turning out a lot of good guys out of there.
It's a lot of shut up and listen, and a lot of, at least for me, a lot of don't touch that hot stove, and sometimes you got to kind of touch it and get in trouble, and you kind of, you know, and it's not like a big thing, but it's just like you need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
I had a wrestler's quarter experience one time, so, but I learned my lesson.
We all do.
I try to behave. I try to behave now.
All those experiences make you a better wrestler.
For sure.
Yeah, I got a question about your guys' team name, because it was WarHoss, and now it's WarHoss.
Yeah.
And what brought on the change? Because like I said, this is for me personally as well. Because I just seen it on the internet, like, oh, I guess they're WarHoss now. So I was just kind of curious on what brought on the name change and the meaning behind it.
So initially we got the name because we went out and drinking one time, and this was before we were a tag team, and there was a cover band that did like early 2000s, 90s, and 80s rock. And we're like, man, WarHoss would be a cool name. So we took the name once we started tagging because we thought it'd be dope. It kind of had a nice ring to it. But then recently, within the last year or so, Jake Parnell, who was part of the Viking War Party, started picking up more steam. And then eventually he won the
Changed his name.
Yeah, he changed his name officially to just WarHoss. And like out of respect, because of the fact that he had gained so much internet attachment, and then he started working his way over into the east side of the country, we kind of were like, And plus the gimmick was so, it's really respectable. I mean, his work's really good, and the fact that he's all into his gimmick. So, like, you believe he is the WarHoss. So we're like, okay, we get it, we dig it. And we just got advice from other people who were kind of picking up on it, like Ron Mathis and Bruce Gray, Madman Fulton. They all kind of, hey, like you guys, but you want to rip that Band-Aid off. Separate, yeah, and kind of separate yourselves from that, so you know. And then we also had issues where people start tagging us in his stuff, and vice versa, on social media. So one day we were at Rockstar working a show, and they changed our name to WarHoss, and we were just looking at each other like, nah, that's not gonna work. Like, no. So they were like, you got 2 shows to come up with a new name. So we were looked at each other, we were like, you're a big boy, I'm a big boy, we might as well be just hosses. So we just changed it to WarHoss. And I think that represents us well because we're big dudes that like to move, and we can, it's different because we have agility, we have speed, we can be technical if we need to be. And I think it just works really well as a name. Yep. Plus, we can keep the WH on here. WH on it, so.
All right, there you go. Ain't got to change the gimmick and the gear and stuff.
No.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've said it to you guys, and I've said it to a number of people, and I'm sure you hear it a lot, that pretty much right now in the Indies, you guys are probably one of my favorite tag teams. And reason being is
I appreciate
you guys are good and skilled, but I actually see some of myself in you guys. And like with Chris, you know, I see your showmanship and your stuff like that. And yeah, it kind of resembles, you know, stuff that I've seen and done. And then with Pat, it's just his Bruiser style, which is how I love to work. I was always a stiffer worker, and you know, and it's easier to sell that way. I always say it's easier to sell when you're stiff. But and that's when I first saw Pat, and first thing he did, of course, was like knock Baker's head off of the clothesline at the school. It's like, that was the first time I ever saw him. I was like, hell yeah, I like this guy. So. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, I see a little bit of myself, and like with me and Tank, I don't know if you listen to mine and Tank's podcast with Jim and all of us, but back when me and Tank,
Sherman
Tank
was still around when they were around.
Yeah, but when we had our wars, it was just like straight like stiff fest. I mean, we were always just beating the shit out of each other, and so that's I kind of see that in you guys, like with the stiffness and the work, and I'm like, man, I was like, if I could get back in the ring and was able to, I definitely would want to wrestle these guys.
I mean, you can always come in there with us. We'll take care of you, baby. Yeah,
Right. Well, if you took care of me, I'd probably get pissed.
Like, the funny thing is, like, the older guys always say, hey, you need to take care of me. Don't be too rough with me. And then, like, we got in there one time. It was at Powerbomb Wrestling with Ben Boone and Nate Madsen. Nate Madsen lives in the locker room. Has always been super dope, super cool, gives like some solid advice. Comes over, hey guys, I need to take care of me. I'm just an old fragile man. And that first right hand, boy, I was like, oh. So I go to Pat, like after the match is done, I went to Pat, I was like, hey, can Nate light up on you? He's like, yes, it wasn't just I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
He's from Michigan, and you're just like, okay, he's a vet, he's gonna be nice. I'm like, man, he came with that fire. And like it's not a stiff thing, it's more, I would say, snug. It's like in Japanese wrestling, stiff is disrespectful, but snug is respect. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of just, you laying your stuff and you're laying your shit in. It's a fight. You're trying to win. You got to do what you got to do,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I believe in taking care of the other guys, but I mean, they got to at least know it's there, and you got to make the sounds and all that. I mean, it ain't gonna, you throw a big shot with a forearm, it ain't gonna kill them. So.
Same ballet.
Yep.
I have to.
He hurts me all the time. I don't know. What?
I got to say, I've got to concur with Donnie. I love watching you guys work. The New Ohio shows that I've been to and announced, you guys have always been fabulous. And watching you down at Future Great Wrestling a couple of times. Matter of fact, the first time you guys showed up down there, my wife, Chris, she goes, WarHoss is here. WarHoss is here. She was so excited to see you guys. So you guys are one of my top favorite tag teams that I watch in the Indies. So kudos to you guys.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
So how things going otherwise? I know that with the COVID and everything's been on a downward spiral, so to speak, and everything's been on hold, and you've lost a lot of bookings. Have you been looking at other places to go, like maybe reaching out to like Ring of Honor and those guys and getting their attention, or how's things been going for you guys?
So initially, like the beginning of the year, like we had like stuff in January, but then like February was looking kind of empty, and I messaged Pat like, dog, I don't know, man, I feel like we're about to hit a slump. And then like within a week, he's like, we're good. It's like we were booked all the way through June, like out of nowhere.
We've been picking up.
It was cool.
Later on in the year. We had almost a full calendar.
Our calendar was basically
for 2020
almost full for 2020.
Wow.
And and then COVID hit. It was just like gone. Cool thing is though, is like even during COVID, some of the promotions I guess have had either downtime or they're just kind of going through their messages, and people are still hitting us up, asking for our information. We just had a promotion out in Chicago, asked for our stuff and asked for a rate, and they're like, hey, we want to bring you in, so we'll let you know. We're supposed to have a show next week, next Saturday, or this coming Saturday, depending on what OAC says with OCW. And then we are possibly doing some stuff with Fight Underground out in Pittsburgh.
Nice.
So there's still potential, and there's still hope for, picking up some steam and still getting our names out there and putting in the work. So that's kind of why we've still been hitting the gym and trying to do diet stuff and just get where we need to be and not waste the time.
Right. And we've asked other people like Shauna Reed and Cody Hawk and all them, and even Matt Taylor when we've had them on. But like as for losing all the bookings that you guys have lost, and like you said, you were with us for the Arnold. You were booked 2 days there. You guys were booked 2 days at the Ohio State Fair, and those all got canceled.
That my heart, man.
Oh yeah, that was a tough one. As soon as I seen it come across my phone, I was like, God dang, man. I was like, that was a tough one.
Yeah, it was such a fun show last year. Like, just
so much fun.
It was fun because it was different for us. Like, normally fair shows are real small, but the Ohio State Fair, you get people to come, and there were so many people there, and there were so many different wrestlers there, and then. We had the scheduled matches, and then we had the impromptu stuff where it was just fun and shenanigans, and the opportunity to work our trainers, which probably will never happen again. But it was really dope to work with Bill and Poe, especially with people comparing us to them. And a lot of the older guys were saying, man, you kids are about to get, you're about to get that whooping. But I felt like we did. I think we had a good time. It was a little snug in there, but that's what we
expected.
Yeah, that's what we expected. We came to play with black and blue, so we weren't expecting to walk out there without some licks getting thrown in there. So.
Yeah, I might have had a little bit something to do with that. If I need to apologize, when I first talked to Sam about doing it, I first talked to Sam about doing it when we were meeting for lunch one day. He was like, "You realize what you're asking for, don't you?" And I was like, "I know exactly what I'm asking for, and that's what I expect." He was just like, "Okay." So yeah, but I mean that was the fun of it. So I enjoyed it,
Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead, Donnie. I
was just going to say about like with all the canceled bookings, about like we had talked about. I mean, how has that impacted you guys? Like this COVID thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know you guys also have day jobs and stuff. So, but I mean, still the loss of incomes has got a sting. And so, how big of an impact has this had on you two as professional wrestlers and as a wrestling career?
For me, it's just been the fact that cause I work for the local government, so they eventually sent us home. So I've been at home for 3 months, and that was a complete shock for me.
Yep,
because
same here.
I deal with the public normally. Yeah, I deal with the public normally. So I deal with the public at work, and then I deal with the public when I go and wrestle. So when my schedule is basically Monday through Sunday, and then it's, well, now you got to work from home, and I'm just there by myself and on the phone all day or processing cases. It gets to a point where you're just like, what am I going to do? I'm so bored. But the good side that I will say is that I've picked up this thing about saving money. So I've been working on saving money, been working on getting a passport and looking at the different licenses and trying to get, figure out the places where I can get a show or we can get shows and bookings in the future so we can just be ready for it. So we don't want to come out of this with nothing. So, stacking the money, saving some money, ordering new gear, working on t-shirt designs. We finally opened up a pro wrestling tees thing. We're just waiting on the design to get finished. Other than that, I mean, it's kind of a waiting game. Eventually, we were kind of given the okay for unofficial open gyms, kind of, sort of, and we took advantage of those just to work on stuff where he abused me, working on new tag moves. But for me, it's been pretty cool. How about you, sir?
My regular job, still be able to work and stuff like that, so that's been fine and everything like that. But it's just, I was so used to during the week have a booking, multiple during the weekends had bookings. So it's just, I always had my time filled. So when all that just went away, just nothing, just so much time, free time, I wasn't used to, and I didn't plan anything during those times because, of course, I made time aside for those bookings. So then I just had nothing. So boredom is pretty much a good way to describe not having the wrestling bookings. I mean, and yeah, and the financials is tough. Like, we would do pretty solid on wrestling weekends and stuff like that helped us, like, maybe buy a little extra groceries and stuff like that. It's been a little rough, but at least I've been able to work my regular job throughout the week, and that hasn't been impacted, which is always a good thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what I was going to do is I was going to steer the conversation a different way here because we are called Wrestle Horror. So we do cover wrestling and horror. And my question for you guys, are you horror movie fans?
I didn't scare myself a lot, and I'm super paranoid. So yes, I love horror movies. I used to take me when I was a kid, like between 5 and 10. He used to always take me like to the horror movies and slasher films, and my mother would lose it because, well, you're not gonna be here when he has a nightmare, or now he's gonna be scared of this. But so like I've seen them all from like the old originals, like Last House on the Left, When a Stranger Calls, Psycho, to like the remakes, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street. I've seen them all, and I love them so much.
Excellent. Excellent. What would be your favorite of those?
Ooh. So because I'm a '90s kid, man. I am a big fan of Wes Craven, and I was really sold on the Scream series.
Okay.
Like the reason of that is the validity of it, because it could technically happen. Somebody could literally lose their mind, put on a Halloween mask, and go around killing people.
Right.
It's been done. So yeah, I was a big fan of those because it threw in comedy, it threw in reality, and then of course, just Wes Craven being able to get in your mind and kind of play games with you. And even to this day, the Scream mask and the Scream series is still something that's relatively popular. So,
Okay.
may he rest in peace.
Yeah. And that's a great answer. That's kind of what I was looking for, because that's become a theme when we're talking to people about horror movies and things like that. Is it's the believability and the fact that it could actually happen. We were talking to Cody Hawk a couple of weeks ago, and he said his favorite movie was Jaws.
Man.
Just because it could happen. I mean, but
we went on vacation, man, and that water got up to our hip, and that was about it. We were like, we're not going too far in the ocean, because there are drop-offs, things can eat you, bro. Like,
the ocean is a very terrifying
thing.
thing.
It's terrifying. We don't know
terrifying.
everything about the ocean, so we were like, we're big, and like, dog, like, who's gonna come out here? Like, that bodyguard can't fucking drag us out. I'm like, nah, we're gonna stay right here where we can see everything.
All right.
If we need to run, we can run. But yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, big shark, nah, dog.
But I have to agree with you. The believability really heightens the fear of a movie as opposed to the fantastical. Now, I mean, granted, I love the Hellraiser series, but
Pinhead, man.
Yeah, but is it really practical? I mean, could it really happen? Doubtful.
I don't know, because I don't mess with like Ouija boards and stuff, because you don't know.
Nah, nope.
And I don't feel like talking to anything or letting anything in, so you keep your interdimensional demons over there, man.
I will agree with you. You don't mess with Ouija boards. On top of my ring announcing duties and whatever else I do for wrestling, I am also a paranormal investigator.
Oh, that's cool. You'll never catch me going out with you, though.
Nope.
So see now, Sherman Tank says he wants to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so does Shauna.
You can take Tank, man. You take Tank and Shauna, and if y'all get back, I may consider.
I'll watch The Finding.
That first thing that moves or makes a creak, I'm gone, man. I'm letting you know now. Somebody's got to be around to tell the story.
It'll be the fastest you ever see a 300-pound man move, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So we were fast in that ring. Wait till something go. Wait till that speared or something creaks. We're out, man. Gotta go.
Yeah, we'd actually talked about getting a big group of us going for like an overnight stay at some place and check it out.
Did you say overnight?
Hold on. Overnight.
Yeah, overnight.
Yep. We go to a haunted place at night and stay the whole night. Paranormal and everything. See what happens.
I was just talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, "Yeah, my parents' house is haunted." And I'm like, "Nah." And apparently, like, it's when they bring in new babies and stuff, and around like the age of 5 or something, they start coming out and talking to the kids, and it's a husband and a wife, or a groom and a bride, and the groom's name is Jack. And I was like, you know what? I'll never come visit you at your grandparents' house. So, no, man.
Well, I will tell you right now, my house is haunted as well, and I live across the street from a cemetery.
Oh, that's a big no-no.
Well, that's hollow ground, so you might be good over there. What about that house to the cemetery? That's hollow ground.
It's a big no.
Get you some salt and some sage.
So you telling me I go to this house, I see a spirit, I walk out, first thing I see is a cemetery? No.
Right.
What do with that?
And I used to own a hearse.
Run.
Oh, no. See,
I wouldn't even talk to you then. Like,
here we go.
So one night we were coming back from a show, and we pulled up into a gas station, And I kid you not, the next thing that pulled up was the mystery machine. Now, we got super excited
Nice.
about that, but it was
Heck yeah.
it was also super weird, too, because it's like, why is there, we're in the middle of nowhere, and there's the mystery machine for Scooby-Doo. But then the guy that got out of the mystery machine looked super creepy, so it was like,
Right.
super awkward. He killed the gang, man.
Took their van.
And this is how paranoid I get. I'll watch this stuff, and I'll just be sitting there and just like shaking my head. So one time we were going to a show, and it was a beautiful day out. And Pat went inside. We went inside. I think probably a Speedway, get some food, whatever, and drinks. Came out, and I was the first one back to the car. And behind the Speedway was nothing but this giant cornfield. And then I hear the laughter of children. And I was like, dude, we got to go.
Oh, yeah.
Got to go.
Time to mash the gas and get out of here.
Nah, man. Children of the corn, man. I'm not getting stuck here.
Laughter of children can be the most sweetest, but also the most terrifying thing
ever.
ever.
You don't see the children. You hear them laughing. Nah, man.
You guys ever gone through corn mazes and stuff during Halloween season?
Yeah, see, I'll do those, but like the last time I went through like one of the ones where they could actually like put hands on you, like I tagged like 2 people probably. My first reaction is hit and then run.
Right.
It's not a fight or flight. It's a fight and flight.
Right, there you go.
See, on top of all that other stuff, I'm also a retired haunted house actor.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been there.
No.
Yeah, man. Swing and move, man.
I've been hit many a time.
Yeah, but it's funny because like you sit there and you watch this stuff, and like it's the fear that is clearly what's getting you off. So that little itch of paranoia, that little, jerk to see what's going on. One night I was watching something, and I left the front door open. Next thing I knew, it was completely dark outside. I'm just like, yeah, it's time to close that door.
I'll tell you right now, I don't look out windows at night.
You hear that thing?
No,
I looking back at you.
just because I always have that fear that I'm gonna open up a blind or something and someone's looking right back at me. Nope.
So now I got to find out where you live so I can make it happen.
Oh, okay, all right. You want to go there? I'm going to go there. Okay. Way back.
Go ahead.
No, way back in my younger years, I was dating a girl back in high school, and we had watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at my house.
Oh, no.
So I took her home after we watched the movie, and I went home, got the chainsaw out of my garage, went back to her house, went underneath her bedroom window, and fired up my chainsaw. The scream that came out of her room was unbearable. And to this day, she doesn't know I did it.
Oh, you never told her?
I never told her.
Man, that's easy right there.
I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. She would have removed something from me if I told her.
Probably. No, then my mom and my godmother were going back and forth. My godmother is terrified of horror movies, but she will always watch them as long as somebody's there with them. But so they were going back and forth leaving voicemails, and this was around the time that Hannibal came out, the sequel to Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
And so my godmother left this voicemail, so we were going over there to actually watch Hannibal. And so she's washing dishes, and it's dark outside, so she's washing dishes, and she's got the window up. Mom walks up, and she goes over there, she says, "Hello, Clarice." And my godmother just jumps all the way back. She's, "God damn it, Johnny!" It's the funniest thing, but I'm like, she's old. You're giving her a heart attack, man. But that's hilarious.
Nice.
But like, yeah, like, and then you start getting movies like The Strangers, like that one, like really, like it's kind of loosely based on a true story.
Yeah.
Right.
And then like that one scene where she says, "Why are you doing this?" And it's because you were home. Like, well, what do I do? No,
That's my favorite movie.
Nah, man.
That's terrifying.
It's horrifying.
Oh, yeah. I always say that human beings are the scariest creatures on the planet.
Most dangerous, man. That's why BTK was doing his whole thing and hunting them and stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Zodiac. Man is the most dangerous animal to hunt, man. Nah, good. Because you were home, man. That's why I'm never home.
What tickles me is you guys are, as you said earlier, a couple of hosses, but you're like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I know my limitations.
Size don't mean nothing in that situation.
See, you talk about spirits.
Yeah.
I can't punch a spirit.
Can't punch a spirit.
I can't punch a spirit. All my physical abilities out the window when it comes to these spirits and ghosts.
Yeah, man. What we gonna do? Can't off the ghost. And if something possesses him, I can't fight him.
Right?
Yeah. No. That's funny.
That is great. You guys are just making us laugh so much. It's fun. I mean, who'd have thought?
I'm the most ridiculous because I was before wrestling. I was like on my way to being a cop, and then I found Avery School, and so like I've been around that stuff, so I kind of had this obsession with like serial killers and like the reason why people cross that line. And so you start thinking about this stuff, you start watching like the different documentaries or the different movies about these people, your Bundys, your Ed Geins and all that stuff. And then eventually you realize like these people are real. You don't know if they're next door. You don't know who this person is. So, man, I'm not trying to be somebody's furniture lunch. So,
Yep.
No,
I'm good.
So teleport.
So if I asked you what the scariest type of horror villain, for lack of a better word, what would scare you the most? Like, is it clowns or is it just normal people? What type of thing scares you guys the most?
The really nice guy that gives you that creepy vibe.
Okay.
You're what is that? What is that dude's name for American Psycho?
Oh,
that Christian Bale play. Like he's the go-getter. He's got the nice apartment. Right. He looks good. He's dashing. He communicates well, but he's a sociopath. Right. So, like, nah, man.
Kind of like a Norman Bates type of mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a disaffiliated schizophrenic. That's different. He's hearing voices and shit. So I mean, that happens. Like, not all those people are violent, but your sociopaths, man. Yeah, what's up with those guys? No.
So
that's a lack of empathy. They don't care.
So if a clown showed up with a chainsaw, how would you feel?
See, that's different. You just said a clown. You didn't say a clown with a chainsaw.
I ain't throwing a chainsaw into this man.
No, you added the infinity of fear. I can go to the circus and be fine, but as soon as that clown picks up a knife, then we have a problem. So once again, it goes back to the mentality of I got to hit this clown and then get away.
Yeah, the hit and run.
Yeah, I'm not going to hit the clown and like just try to figure out who the clown is. Like hit the clown and let the police do their job. I'm gone. No. I don't know.
All right. So what if a transvestite clown tried to scare you?
What's that? Yeah, that just makes me curious. Then.
Yeah.
That's a Rocky Horror question there.
Funny story. I used to do Rocky Horror too.
Nice.
But the reason I asked is because being a haunt actor in recent years, I was actually a transvestite clown too.
With a chainsaw.
With a chainsaw.
Keep having the chainsaw, man. That's a whole nother level of fear.
Everything is all right till you get that chainsaw.
Oh man, this is just, you guys are fun. I'm glad you guys came on. This is awesome. So Donnie, I'm going to throw it back over to you. I'm still giggling here.
Yeah, no problem. One thing we like to do is ask everybody that we come on as guests for one piece of advice to try to help the new up and comers or the new students or even seasoned people that don't necessarily think outside the box, so to speak. So one thing I know everybody says keep your mouth shut and your eyes open, ears open, and that kind of thing. And is there something like that has surprised you that you've learned that you would never have thought of while training?
Yeah, the one thing that I've picked up on is the only way to really get good in this business and to learn is you got to hit the road. You got to hit the road. If you're not booked on a show a weekend, find a car to get into. Go to a show. Find a car where a vet is in there they can get advice from. You learn more on the road than you do in your training classes. That's how our trainers taught us, which is why we always hit the road. You got to hit the road. You got to put the miles on your body. You got to put the miles in the car. You just got to do it. It's just something you just have to do. You got to hit the road. You got to make the pounds. Because even if you're not cleared yet, you get good with a promoter. You can find a contact. You can get contacts before you even start wrestling. Yeah. It makes that life easier. You just learn so much just hitting the road. So just hit the road. Got to hit the road.
Yeah, that's how I got my go-ahead, was by just getting in a car and going to a seminar. And I wasn't even cleared yet, but it was a seminar with Rhino. And then Papa Dingo was there, and then a phone call was made. And the next thing I know, Avery gives me the go-ahead. He shows up to the show, and it was just a bunch of shenanigans and tomfoolery. But to answer the question, I would always say is probably never stop learning. So get in the car and then never stop learning. Continuously learn, pick up different things, the way people move, the way people react, the way they sell. Just like keep learning, keep getting better, because keep getting better until you can't. And if you have mastered professional wrestling, then just be done. Because that's the thing. You always learn something new, or you move your body a certain way, or you sell a certain way, or you give this reaction to what someone does, or you put on this face and you move them a certain way, and it just makes that one thing look completely different. And like we had that today with just a simple headlock, and it just little things like that. So always keep learning and keep keep smoothing everything over and keep getting better. It's just you're molding yourself. There's so many different styles, there's so many different holds and techniques, and then you have to make them your own. So if you find something that's really cool, sit there and then try to figure out, create like a spider web chart and like figure out, well, how can I get into this, or what's the best way to get into this? How can I get out of this? What move can I do to create a sequence with this? So there's so many aspects of this business that can be reinterpreted, just like art. And that's kind of the whole purpose of it, is you're creating your showcase. So when you go out there, your match is going to be different. Like when we go out there together, it's a WarHoss match. You see his elements, you see my elements. But when we're separate, you see his elements, you see my elements. And like we have two different styles. So just keep learning. Like I learned from him all the time. Like I had a big problem when I first came back of bumping, because I didn't see myself as super big, but I was also a big fan of like taking cool moves and doing cool stuff. And then she's like, you gotta stop doing that. It was literally him, Bruce, and Mathis were like the main ones that really started getting into me about, you gotta stop bumming for people. You gotta stop. You gotta be big. You're a monster. You need to act like a monster. Be big. Tell that story. So never stop learning.
Oh, it's great advice.
Have fun. I think have fun is like the biggest key. Is like once you get out of your head and you start having fun, but you're still like it's a weird like learning thing. Like you finally get that click or that thing that happens where you start having fun. Those matches start getting better, and they just start building on top of each other. You find these building blocks to progress and do better, but you have to work for it. That's the thing. So the getting in the cars, the going the training, because Avery is really good about, hey, if you want to go here and learn from somebody, be my guest. I'm not going to hold you here. So like, we'll go down to Dayton, or we used to, and we'll learn from those guys down there, or we'll go up to Mansfield and learn from those guys. Like there's always different aspects. Like I love working with Cody because Cody's so simple, and like he reminds me of Avery, but he just has this different way of doing stuff. And it's like we just pick these different elements and we keep adding stuff to ourselves to be better and to get better, because we don't want to just be the big guys that just show up. We want to be the big guys that show up and tear the house down. We want to be able to tell that story and paint that picture. We're monsters that can move. We can be technical. We can be athletes. That's what we want to portray. We want to be the best tag team. So that's how I feel.
Very cool advice. I dig it.
So is there any social media that you guys have where people can find out more about WarHoss or Crosshairs Kelly and Pat the Bruiser?
Yes, it's all the same. It's all the same address. So it's WarHoss MDK, and that's for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then also our booking email as well. It's warhossmdk@gmail.com.
Excellent, excellent. Hopefully some promoters that are listening might catch note of this and give you guys a call, shoot you an email.
I hope so. We're always open. We travel, we make arrangements, we negotiate. Like we know our worth.
No place is too far.
Yeah, we know place is too far. We know our worth, and so we'll make an effort to work with people and to get out there. You asked earlier if we had to start reaching out to some of the bigger promotions. So this will be a little bit of a story, but we're big fans of Evolve and Progress from the UK. So I had just got home. I think we had just got back from a show or training. We had just got back from something, and I got a phone call asking if I could take some guy his gear to either the night of or the next night. And I was like, well, I'll come the next night because they were doing a show in Detroit. And so I called him and said, hey, buddy, you want to go and take this guy his gear bag because he got lost at the airport? He's like, I guess. So we go to the show, and it ended up being a joint show with Evolve and Progress. Progress was on their American tour, and so they were doing a joint show in Detroit. And so it was actually Stokely Hathaway's bag, who's now assigned to the Fed. And so he had his gear in there and like two other people's gear in there, so they really needed that. And so it worked out. So we actually got to meet Gabe Faculty and kind of talk to him a little bit. But then just the ability of being there and being able to watch, one, how the show was put together, being able to help out and kind of meet some of the different guys, and then being able to watch Gabe as he touched every aspect of that show was really cool. Being able to see the way he reacted after some of the matches occurred was really interesting to see. First time I got to see Walter, and I was just amazed with his physicality and brutality. And it was also the first time that I actually got to see the true potential of Anthony Henry, because that dude is phenomenal. Because he took that ass whooping, but he also gave it right back, considering the size difference. It was literally David versus Goliath. And it was a hellified match. And Gabe was so happy with the story, the way the story was told, the way the fans reacted, and just the overall culmination of it was so good. And then it also lets you know, like, you don't always have to do, like, these really cool or intricate spots or this big high-flying thing to get a crowd of – they were at capacity. It was like, what? It was 400, 500 people. It was completely sold out, standing room only. And, like, the littlest thing would pop this crowd or get them on their feet, and it was like, so it's all about the way you do things. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, back on getting on that road and going and learning different things, and a guy, one of their managers there, gave us their card. So I finally felt like we were at the point where we should get a look. So we kind of sent our stuff off recently. So we're just kind of waiting back. He did respond and said he's going to take a look at it. So hopefully we may get some action with Evolve. Is our goal, but we're always looking to, you know, maybe go to Japan, maybe go and work for ROH. You know, we just want to work. We want to get better. Sure. And these places have those guys. You know, the Fed, AEW. So there are places to go. Even Impact now. Impact's got some really great talent right now.
Yes.
Really
I
great.
agree.
I mean, Rascals, Ace Austin, you know, Dave and Jake, like even Sammy, like these guys travel the world and they've done this and they're doing what we want to do. So right. You got to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. You guys, it has been an awesome time talking with you guys. We're going to have to wrap it up here, but I want to thank you guys again for the viewers and listeners. WarHoss, Pat the Bruiser, Crosshairs Kelly. Book these guys. Go watch their shows because they're an incredible tag team. Donnie, I'm going to throw it to you for the last comments, and then we're going to close it out.
No, yeah, absolutely. Same thing. Glad you guys could come on, and we'll definitely have you guys back on again.
Absolutely. We appreciate the opportunity, man. We just want to, we want to share who we are, and yeah, we're big boys and we like to work, but we can communicate. We're educated. We like to have a good time. So we want people to know who WarHoss is.
Excellent. We can't ask for more than that. For that being said, my name is Meat Hook Jim, along with Donnie Hoover and our guests, WarHoss, Pat the Bruiser's Crosshair Kelly. I'm going to find out where you live, and I'm going to bring a chainsaw with me.
I'm getting my CCW, man. You playing these games if you want to. Chainsaw. Always with the chainsaw. Yeah, no chainsaw, man.
Guys, thanks again so much. I can't say anymore. We're out.
Yeah, see.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media outlets. Facebook.com/WrestleHorror, Instagram @WrestleHorror, Twitter @WrestleHorror, on our YouTube channel, the Wrestle Horror Channel. Also, you can find us at www.wrestlehorror.com.